good. Fine.
Okay, sir. Fine.
Okay,
Okay,
we'll
sir.
begin.
Right.
Uh,
Yes,
good,
sir.
good afternoon to the organizers and the participants of this webinar. As mentioned earlier, today's topic for discussion would be measures of central tendency. In this modern age, nobody has a patience to listen to a long story. They want quick and short answers. So if you keep telling big long story, people don't have patience to listen to your story. They say, "Give me quick answers," whether it is officials or boss or anybody. Even children also don't have patience to listen to you. So they want quick answers. That is the problem. So a teacher has to be very careful in uh, telling the answer in brief and also without missing the essentials. Uh, so the skill has to be developed to be brief, to the point, and this thing. So now we will go to the PPTs. This is as a webinar on statistics for economics. Then today, next, the session 2 is on measures of certain tendency. Then what I say as introduction, people don't have patience to listen to a long story. Listen to your long answers. Suppose the official asks a teacher, what is the number of students who are joining online classes? So a teacher may say Monday, so many attended, Tuesday, how many? The official would say, in general, how many are attending? So a teacher may say generally 20 students are attending online classes. Like that, if a boss asks how much time it takes for you to come to office, and if he says some days when there is a peak traffic, it will take more than 1 hour, but the boss is not interested in listening to all big stories. He says how much time, about how much time it takes. The employee will say about 30 minutes. Similarly, if somebody asks, how many cups of tea you will have, sir? When there is Sunday, I will have more cups. When the guests come, I will have more less. But people would like to know, in general, mostly how many cups. The consumer say mostly 3 cups of tea. Now, all these words, that is generally, about, mostly, what do they convey? They convey some summary measure broadly, means there is likely to be variation, but in general it is about. So instead of giving a long list of answers, you prefer to give a brief about that. Generally 20 students attend, about 30 minutes, takes 30 minutes to take to reach, or I will have mostly 3 cups of tea daily. So this is, instead of giving detailed breakup, you want to give only brief, be brief. Okay. Now we want a summary like that. More coming. People are very, some people are very poor, sir. That doesn't mean, but we want to know what is the per capita income of the country in general. Similarly, per capita consumption of food grains. Similarly, productivity of industrial workers. So all these, to answer these questions, we need some sort of summary figures, some broad summary figures. So how to, if there is a huge data, I have taken the trouble collecting big, large amount of data, but we have to summarize. How can you summarize? This summarization is possible with the help of some tools. So those tools are called, or in simple language, one may call it as average or somebody may, a statistician may call it as measures of central tendency. So, hello.
Sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay, we'll continue. But some PPTs, are you able to see the PPTs or are you able to see the PPTs? No, to answer as I was telling, to answer questions, we need some summary measures. Big data is there, but the data has to be summarized. How best can you summarize? It is possible to summarize with help of what are statistical tools called averages. Average is nothing but a summary of the big series. Big data is there. We want to summarize that big data in a short form. That are called averages, or a statistician will call them as measures of central tendency. Why this word measures of such a big name called measures of central tendency? They are called measure of central tendency because they have a tendency to be in the center of the series. There is a big series is there, some are big, some are small, but we want to have a number which represents the whole series. So these will be very useful. Sometimes these measures are also misused. We have to be careful using these measures. So what are these important measures of central tendency? What are these measures of central tendency? There are three important measures of central tendency. Most of you know, I can be a bit quick. That is mean. Mean is the ratio of the sum of items of a series divided by the number of items. So it's a ratio. Total divided by number of items. This everybody knows. We call it as average or mean. Statistician will call it as a mean because average is a broad name. So there are many types of averages. Mean is one of the average. Mean is also one of the average. So mean is not the same. Like a mean is one type of average. There are median is also average. Mode is also average. So many people are acquainted with mean. Mean is the ratio of the total of the series, items of the series to the number of the divided by the number of items in the series. What is median? What is a median? Some may have heard of median also, but they may not have clear about what is a median. The median is the value of the middle item. Median means middle. The value of the middle item is called median. If we arrange a series either in ascending order or a descending order, the middle value of the middle item is called the median. So median is the value of the middle item. Likewise, there is another average which is called mode. Mode is another type of average. What is mode? Mode is the value which is frequently repeated in the series. A mode of series is that number which is again and again appearing in the series. So that is called a mode. So these are the three important measures of central tendency: mean, median, and mode. Now we will take up put it in more algebraical fashion. In mathematical language, mean is equal to sum of items divided by the number of items. So putting it in a symbolic form, it is summation x by n. So x1, x2, x3, like that, xn are the items in a series, and mean will be sum of items divided by the number of items. In symbolic form, it is called summation of x by divided by n. Now, what about median? Likewise, algebraically, median can be expressed as As I told, median is the value of the middle item. We can put it as M denoted by. So median, now middle item, how to know which is middle item? If n is odd, that is number of items in a series is odd. Odd means 3, 5, 7. If n is odd, then the middle item will be found out by n plus 1 by 2 item will be the middle item. So the middle item in a series having n items will be n plus 1 by 2. So that will be the middle item. So where n is the number of items in the series. This is provided if number of observation is odd. If there are even number of items in a series, then we have two middle terms. What are the two middle terms? N by 2 is also middle term. N plus 1 by 2 term is also middle term. So when n is even, we have two middle terms. So when n is even, suppose n is 5. N is 5, then third item will be the middle item. If n is 6, that is n is even, then we have two middle terms. Which are the two middle terms? Third item is also middle term. Fourth item will also be middle terms. So the formula to know the middle term is in n is odd, it will be n plus 1 by 2. When n is even, it will be n by 2 and n plus 1 by 2. These are the two middle terms. And as I told, mode is the value of item having highest frequency. Because it is highest frequency means it is again and again repeating in the series. Now we will take an example to make our discussion more things. Suppose we ask there are 10 students of economics and ask how many economics books they have purchased. So one student may say, first student may say 3 books, second may say 2 books, third also is having 2 books, fourth has purchased only 1 book, third has again, fifth has purchased 3 books, and sixth is a very studious, he has purchased 6 books. Like that, some have purchased 3 books, some have 3, 4, and last person also has purchased. So there are students who have purchased only 1 book. There are students who have purchased even 6 books. So we want a summary value, summary measure, one average. So the mean will be here the number of books divided by the number of students. The number of books, if we add these 3 plus 2 plus 2 put together, this will become 30 divided by the number of students, that is 10. So the mean will be 3. So this is a very simple example. We have taken the number of books purchased by the 10 students of economics. We have added total number of books. All the books, we get the total. And the number of books is 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3. Last but one is 4 and the last is 6. So there are 10 items. The n is even. So we have 2 middle terms. When n is even, we will have 2 middle terms. That is 5th term and 6th term will be the 2 middle terms, because n by 2 is 10 by 2, that is 5th, and the next will be n plus 1, that is n by 2 plus 1, that is 6th term is also middle term. So both 5th term and 6th term happen to be 3, 3. So the average of the 2 will also be 3. So the median value is 3. So many people think that mistake they do is that the median is the middle term. That is not a middle term, which they say n by 2 is the middle term. So n by 2 is 5 by 10 by 2 is 5 is the median. No, the value of the middle item will be the median. So here there are two middle terms. Fifth term and sixth term happen to be the two middle terms, and both happen to be 3. The average of these two middle terms will be again 3. So the median number of books purchased by these 10 students is 3. Now we will go to the next slide. The next slide is about mode. The here, as you see, 3 is repeating large number of times. So the mode is 3. So in with the help of this simple example, for students to make it these concepts very clear, we can use this example. That is the number of books purchased by the 10 students. Explain what is the mean in this, what is the median in this, and finally what is the mode. So we'll go to the next. Now this is a warming exercise, because generally people think, oh, average is very simple, the computer will give the average, what is their big thing. Now you, as economics knowledge, you should have economics knowledge, and then you will appreciate how careful we have to be there in making use of the summary measures. Suppose in a village there are 400 houses. A person without much economics knowledge will say, what is so big about it? Total area is 600, number of households is 400. 600 by 400 is 1.5 acres. This is the average size of the operation holding. So this is a person without economics knowledge. If he answers, I can understand. But a person with some knowledge of economics should not commit this type of mistake. Why? The operational holding, I want the size of the operational holding. That is, how much area is being cultivated per cultivate. Operational households, all households are not cultivating. All households are not operating are engaged in agriculture. Out of these 400 households, some may own land. Some may own land, but they may not be cultivating. They are giving it as a tenant to cultivate. So there are persons who don't have land, but they borrow, lease in land and operate. They don't have land. They lease in from others who have land. So now, to know the operational land holding, we don't have to divide by 400 households. We have to divide only by those households who are actually cultivating. We are not even interested in those who are having only land but not cultivating. Even those households should not be taken into account. And we have to take only those households who are operating. And then we have to suppose, assuming that each household is, those who are operating are having only one piece operating. So then operation holding will be 600, maybe 100 households are not operating. Some of them are agricultural labor, some of them have leased out land. Only 300 households are engaged in cultivation. Then we have to divide by not 400, we have to divide only by 300 to get the size of the operational holding. Again, here the case, the only assumption is that each cultivating household has only one piece it is cultivating. So that whatever land it is cultivating is at one place. And there are 300 such families. So the operation holding will, size of the operation holding will be 600 by 300, not by 400, because all the 400 households are not operating, they are not engaged in cultivation. So operation holding is 600 by 300. Okay, that will be 2. So now we'll go to another exercise. Again, because I want to stress, because people are under impression that average is very simple. In this example, a village record shows that there are 300 persons engaged in agriculture sector and they are earning 30,000. So how many persons are in agriculture? In agriculture sector, 300 persons. Likewise, 200 persons are there working in small scale industries in that village and earning 20,000. Likewise, there are another 100 persons are there working in service sector, they are earning 10,000. Record, there are 300 persons who are working in agriculture sector earning 30,000. Another 200 persons are working in small scale industries earning 20,000. Finally, there are 100 persons are working in service sector and earning 10,000. The question is average earning per worker. Average earning per worker. So the total earnings will be 60,000 divided by 600. Therefore, they make one may say it's say 1,000 rupees. This is a person who doesn't have any economics knowledge will talk in this sense. This is the what a person without economics knowledge may do like this. But with some economics knowledge, you can understand that agriculture is a seasonal occupation. Sometimes a same person may work in agriculture, as a carpenter. So these are persons working in agriculture, persons working in industries, and persons working in service sector are not separate groups. They are not mutually exclusive groups. There can be same person can work in more than one sector. So 300 persons working in agriculture sector, some of them may work in small scale sector like beadi making, some may also work in some service sector like artisan, he may be carpenter, like that. So the total number of workers or earners will not be 600, it will be much below the 600. So you have to be very careful. If you just keep on adding this number of earners in agriculture, number of workers in service industries, you should not add and get, you may get overestimated figure because there is a same persons can work in both things. So a person can have more than one occupation. We call it a main occupation and a secondary occupation. So when you are working out the averages, you please be careful. Don't blindly do these averages. Many people do these averages. So I just wanted to warning. These are all just making alert that you have to. We'll go to the next exercise. Everybody has heard about Manrega. But Manrega, instead I call it is MGNREGS. It is not act which we are interested. We are interested in the scheme. People, Manrega means it is the act. That we are interested more in MGNREGS, that is the scheme. So the scheme tells that in April month how many worked, May month how many persons worked, again June month how many households participated and worked. So now how many HH means households. So in month so many 100 households have participated. In May 200 households because summer many people have participated. In June again rains have to come, still more persons have participated. So now number of households have participating is changing from month to month and number of days participated also has changed. Now question is what is the average number of average employment provided under MGNREGS per household. So people will do what they do, number of persons, percentage, number of days worked, total number of days worked divided by the number of households. So here the total number of days worked is 10,000, total number of households if just add like this 100, 200 and plus 300, they put 600. Divided, they get a figure of 1666. But this is incorrect. This is incorrect because there is a possibility that same household may have worked in April, the same household may also have worked in May, the same household may have worked in June. They will be repeating. We call it double counting, triple counting. So we have to be very careful. Don't blindly use this type of second data and get some type of averages. It has no meaning. I will come back to this example later in this discussion. So now we took a discrete this thing, how to calculate mean, median, mode in a discrete when the individual observations are given. But if it is a grouped data, what are the formulas which are there? In a grouped data, arithmetic mean is given by sum x bar, it is denoted by x bar, is equal to summation f of x divided by m, sum of divided by n. There are deviation method, let us not worry about that. Again, for median, the formula is equal to L plus n by 2 minus Cf divided by f into I. Again, there is a formula for mode. These, what these each symbol stands for, we'll see them as we take up a numerical example. But this is sufficient. I have given you the formulas here to compute arithmetic mean, median and mode. We'll see how to apply this formula with the help of a numerical example. So now this is a numerical example. Here we have given number of households, and also we have given that the arithmetic of households rent, how much rent they are paying to their households. So we have this group data. There are households who are paying less than 2,000. There are some households paying rent between 2,000 to 3,000. There are households who are paying rent between 5,000 to 6,000. And the number of households we are given in the next column. These number of households are called frequency. And for calculating arithmetic mean, first we have to find the mid value of each class interval. First class interval in this example is 0 to 2000. 0 to 2000. Here the middle value is 1000. Middle value of the class interval is 1000. Next class interval is 2000 to 3000. The middle value of this class interval is 2500. Last, likewise, if you go on, the last class is 5000 to 6000. The middle value of the class interval is 5500. So there are 50 household data. We have data on 50 households. We have computed mid value of each class interval. And then we have to find out that f into x, where x is the middle value of the class interval. So we get 5 into 1000. That is the last column. 5 into 1000 will be 5000. Again 10 into 2500. The total will be multiplied. It will become 25,000. Likewise, we have to keep on multiplying the frequency into the mid value of the class interval. Frequency into the middle value. And then we have to total that. The total we have got is total by sum of fx, right? Sum of fx is equal to 1,83,500. 1,83,500. That is the total of the last column, divided by the number of households. The number of households happen to be 50. So we get the result is 3,670. So arithmetic mean of the rental value is 3,600. So when the grouped data is there, The first step is you find the mid value of the each class interval, then multiply the frequency into the mid value, get the total. Once having got the total of sum of fx, divide by the number of items, that is number of households in this case, you get the arithmetic mean. There are also what is called deviation method. Let us not worry about that. Let us know how to calculate median when the data is in grouped form. When the data is in grouped form, how to calculate. So the first step is to find median in group data is we have to find a way in which class the median will be there. So that is called median class. So first thing we have to find is in which class the median is there. So here, how to know whether the median is in the first class interval, second class interval, third class interval. So the median, either we want to know where is the middle term. So there are total observations are 50 and the n is even. So the middle terms are 25th term, n by 2 is 50 by 2, that is 25, and the next term, that is 26th term, are the two middle terms. So we have to see where the middle terms, 25th term and 26th term, in which class interval these two terms are there. So for that, to know that, we have to find cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency means we have to keep on adding frequencies. Like frequencies are 5, 10, 12 like that. So we have to keep on adding this frequency, which is the next column. We have that cumulative frequency, that is 5. Again it becomes, next is 15. How did it come? That is 5 plus 10 is 15. Again 15 we have increased to 27 because by adding 12 the frequency of the next class. So we have to keep on adding the frequency of each class to the earlier total and get the cumulative frequency. So now that means first 5 observations are in first class, first interval. Next 15 up to second class, we have 15 observations are over. Then item number 16 to next 12 items up to 27, they are in the third class interval, that is 3000 to 4000. 26th item, so 25th and 26th item are in this class interval, that is 3000 to 4000. Because up to 27th item they are in this class. From 16th item to item number 27 or in the class interval 3000 to 4000. So we have now located the median class. The first step in finding the median in a group data is location of the median class, that is which class contains the median. So we were interested in knowing the 25th item and 26th item, in which class interval these two terms are lying. We found that this class interval 3000 to 4000 contains, so 25th term and 26th term are in the interval 3000 to 4000. So now we have located the median class. Next step is we have to estimate, we have to apply the formula. We have to apply the formula. The formula is L. First we have to tell L is the lower limit of the median class. As I said, the lower limit of the median class is 3000 because the median class is 3000 to 400. The median class is, the lower limit of median class is 3000 plus. Then next is n by 2. We have to n by 2 is number of items is 50 by 2, that is 25. So we have put 25. Next term is minus 15. What is the minus 15? It is the cumulative frequency preceding the median class. It is the cumulative frequency preceding the median class. the cumulative frequency preceding the median class is 15. So the numerator is 25 minus 15 divided by the frequency of the median class. The frequency of the median class is 12. So we have divided by 12 into that length of the or width of the class interval. Width of the class interval is upper limit minus lower limit. Upper limit is 4,000, lower limit is 3,000. So the difference is 1,000. So the width of the class interval. So width of the class interval is 1,000. So we have to simplify. That is 3,000 plus 25 minus 15 will be 10. 10 divided by 12. Then into 1,000. That is the width of the class. So by simplifying, it becomes 3,000 plus 833.33. So totally net is 3,883 the median. So mean was 3,600. Median is different, slightly higher than the mean value. The median in this case happened to 3,883. So let us see now the mode. How to find the mode for this? Again, to find the mode, first step is we have to find the modal class. Where the mode is there? A modal class is that class which has having highest frequency. Modal class is that class which is having highest frequency. Here the class interval 4,000 to 5,000 is having highest frequency, that is 15. 15 is the highest frequency. So in this case, in this example, the modal class is 4,000 to 5,000, whereas median class was 3,000 to 4,000. Median class was 3,000 to 4,000, but here modal class is 4,000 to 5,000. Because why it is so? Because it has highest frequency. That is 15 is the highest among all other frequencies. So this class 4,000 to 5,000 is called modal class because it is having highest frequency. Now next step is we have to apply the formula. The formula, as mentioned earlier, is first mode is equal to lower limit of the modal class. That is, here the lower limit of the modal class is 4,000. Plus frequency of the modal class. Yeah, is the frequency of 0 is the frequency of the modal class minus f. This frequency of the class which comes before, that is 4,000 to 5,000 is the modal class. Class which is come before class is 1,000 to 4,000. And the frequency of that class is 12. So modal class frequency minus frequency of the class coming before the modal class, that is called preceding the modal class, 15 minus 12. Denominator, we have 2 times the modal frequency of the modal class, that is 2 times frequency of the modal class is 2 into 15, that is 30, minus frequency of the class preceding the modal class, and also minus the frequency of the class succeeding the modal class. So we have to consider both the class which is coming before the modal class which is coming after the modal class. The frequency of the class which is coming preceding the modal class is 12. The frequency of the class which is succeeding frequency is 8,000. So put 8. And again we have to multiply by the width of the module class. Again here the width 4,000, 5,000 minus 4,000, and that is 1,000. So by plus 3 by 10 into 1,000. So mean happens to be 3,600. Mean happens to be 3,600. Median happens to be 3,800 and odd. And the mode happens to be 4,300. So now you notice that all are not same, but they're nearby, near to one another. And they are mostly in the center of the series, because there are households who are paying rent less than 1,000, 2,000. There are households who are paying rent more than 5,000. So now these figures, whether mean, median or mode, they are all between neither to the extreme of one side on the lower side or the higher side. They are somewhere in the middle of the series. So they are called measures of central tendency. They are measures of central tendency. They are not exactly same, matching one another, but they differ. There are cases where all the three may be same. Mean may be equal to median, which in turn will be equal to mode. Sometimes it may happen, but not all case. So in general, they will be in the middle of the series. So they are called the measures of central tendency, because they have a tendency to be in the center of the series. Okay. Now one may ask, sir, whether should we take mean, should we take median, or should we take mode? Why to confuse, sir? You tell us which is best. We will select the best. Why to study all the three? One may ask this simple question. Why to study all the three, mean, median, mode? You tell us the one, we'll make use of that, we'll concentrate then. Why to waste our energy on all other things? The answer is, sometimes mean is good, sometimes median is good, some other time mode is good. So how we have to decide? Depending upon the case, whether we should use mean, whether we should have median, whether we should have use mode. So when we should use mean, when we should use median, and when we should use mode, it all depends upon the case. So depending upon their merits and demerits, we will be able to decide which should be used when, whichever they should be used when. Each measure of central tendency has some plus points and some minus point. Now coming to the mean, what are its plus points? Its plus point is it's very well defined. It is very strictly defined. Then it is easy to comprehend. If anybody can be told, sir, how to calculate mean? You add all the items, divide by number of items. People will understand what it means. Easy to understand. Easy to comprehend means easy to understand. More important property of this is, there is mathematical manipulation is possible. Mathematical manipulation is possible. That is, in higher mathematics or higher statistical level, you can see only mean. Median and mode do not play much role. So that is one advantage. This is the biggest advantage, not one. This is the biggest advantage. Now let us see what are the minus points. The minus points of this are, the mean is greatly affected by the extreme value. If there is some extreme value in the series, the mean gets affected. So automatically, if there is some extreme value in the series, then you should not, in such a case, you should not use mean, you have to use median. Better in that case. Then it is Then it is also sometimes if the data thing, again we have to multiply by frequency into height, mid value and other things. So calculation becomes very component. Median is, you look at the median, just it can locate, no calculations are there, especially when the discrete is there. You can just pinpoint the middle item, that is the median. Whereas mean you have to calculate, that is you have to sum them up, total them, then we have to divide, all division operations are there. And mean is also not applicable for percentages. When we are dealing with percentage, we should not use mean also. So in short, mean is a very popular method, but it has some important limitation, and we have to be very careful. So mean is most often used, and at the same time most abused also. Used and abused, misused. Abused means misused. Because out of ignorance, or sometimes because of some self-interest, people misuse them. So these are the plus points, minus points. The median. Now we will go to the median. Again, median is well defined. There is easy to understand. It's not even, people even don't know who division also I can explain what is median means. You arrange the items in order and take the middle item. So there's no question of any division and other things. So it's another easy to understand. Then it is not affected by the extreme values. It is not affected by, it is not difficult to calculate. It is not difficult. These are the plus points. The minus points are, it is not amenable for algebraic treatment. We can't use median for higher mathematical calculations. That is one big limitation. And the another important limitation of median is, it is not based on all the items. Suppose we are including the number of, calculating the number of books, average number of books. We are not bothered about, there is one studious student who has purchased 6 books. We are not taking him into account. We are ignoring the number of books purchased by him. We are not at all, whether 6 books or 7 books, we are not taking. There is a student who has purchased only 1 book. Even we are not whether he has purchased 1 book or 2 books, that is not taken into our calculation. We have used them for arranging. Whether he purchased 6 books or 7 books is not going to affect our median. So that's another thing, because we are not making use of all the information. We are not making use of all the information. That is one of the limitations of this median. Now we will go to the mode. Again, mode has a plus point, is easy to understand, even much more easier than median. The only thing is the number which is again and again repeating is the mode. Instead, even a person who doesn't know what is the middle term also, mode is easy. You can say one item which is again and again coming is a mode. Everybody, even a layman can understand. Again, like median, it is not affected by the extreme value. There's other plus point. But minus point is, like median, it is not amenable for algebraical treatment. The danger here is mode. There can be more than one mode to a series. In a series, there can be more than one mode. But in median, in a series, there cannot be more than one median. There will be only one median. Arithmetic mean also, any series, there can be only one arithmetic mean. We can't have 2 arithmetic means. So mode, there is a possibility that we can have 2 modes in a this thing, a series. 2 modes in a series. Then more important, which is confined to series, is it is not making use of all the observations. Again, the frequencies of the neighboring class are also important. They also influence the mode and the things. That is, how do you classify the data? Depending upon, like, even mode can be altered. So that scope is the manipulation things. So these are some of, so in all, each measure of central tendency, has some plus points, minus points. Now, if a parents have 3 children, if you ask her, which one you like most? No, I love most of them. Then you say the first one is good in this respect, but he is very obedient, but he doesn't not as intelligent. Second one is intelligent, but sometimes he obeys us, sometimes he not doesn't disobey us. Third is like that, has some plus points. So parents will say, depending upon the requirement, they assign the work. They think, oh, the child will be good to do this one. Second child, third child will be good for this. So depending upon the situation, the parents assign the work, whether to the first child or second child or third child. So also, a user of statistics should know when we should use mean, when we should use median, and when we should use mode. Otherwise, we may get wrong results. Like a parent, if we have some work which should be given to intelligent student, child, if we give to another who is obedient but not so intelligent, he will spoil the work. So the parent has to be careful in assigning the work to the children. So also the user of statistics should be careful in deciding which measure of central tendency to be used. So now again these things have been put at one place. So we will skip this slide. Then numerical example again. This is a very, very typical example. What I told in words, I am telling the same thing in with the help of numerical with the help of a numerical number. Now here, monthly SAM, some are getting less than 9,000, 10,000. There are people earning 10,000 to 20,000. There are no, in our data, there nobody is working, having salary between 20 to 30,000 and 30,000 to 40,000. But there is one person having salary in the range of 80 to 90,000. 80 to 90,000. That is one extreme value. There is one very rich person in this whole set. 20% information is given, 20 households information. There is one very rich household. That is, we call it a very extreme observation. Now we'll calculate, now we'll discuss which is to be used. Why don't you use mode? In this case, the mode will be the class having highest frequency. Here highest frequency is first class, that is 0 to 10, 9,909. That 0 less than 10,000. It is having. Why don't you depend only on this? The thing is, if you look at the next interval also, it is also having equally good number of observations are there. 9. Narrowly 1 is less, that's all. But it is less by 1. So it's also equally qualified to be called as a mode. Just you can't ignore that 9 also. So totally depending upon that first class would not give the true picture. So here the problem in using mode, thinking that people have only income less than 10,000 is a bit not correct picture, because there are a good number of persons who are between 10,000 to 20,000. So if you conclude that there are large number of households are running below 10,000, it's not a realistic picture, because there are good number of households are there who are earning between 10,000 to 20,000. Then what about the use of mean? What is the disadvantage of using mean? Here, most of the persons are earning below 20,000. Large number, except one. 19 persons are earning below 20,000. 19% households are earning below 20,000. there is only one household who are earning in the range of 80,000 to 90,000. So if you work out the mean for these 19 households, if you work out the mean for 19 households, it comes to only 9,737. It is only 9,000, that is below 10,000. That is arithmetic mean. But if we include that one lost household which is earning in the income in the range of 80 to 90,000, the average increases to jumps to 13,500. The average jumps to 13,500. You compare, for 19 households, it is only 9,700, and by adding one household, which extreme household, the average jumps to 13,500. So an increase of 39%. Increase of 39%. It's true. Therefore, arithmetic mean gets very much influenced by the presence of extreme value. Whereas mean and median are not influenced by the presence of extreme value. So this numerical example I wanted to highlight. What all we tell in the form of a story, people may not understand. It's better that we take a numerical example. So I thought of giving a numerical example to tell, to highlight which measure should be used when and which measure should be this thing. So these are as I told you that the mean should not be used when we are dealing with percentages. And people knowingly, unknowingly, they misuse. Some unknowingly they do, I can understand. Some people know it, but they want to show something which they like, and they do it. That is some persons who have statistical knowledge, they want to misguide the people. They want to misguide the people. They have their own interest in misguiding the people because they want to show they are right. So what is the thing? Here, percentage, the first year the percentage has increased by 70%. First month prices increased by 70%. Second month prices increased by prices decreased by 50%. So if we total them, 70% minus 50%, net will be 20%. So 20% means, so the average for 2 months is 10%. So somebody may say, if it is opposition party, they will say that, oh, there is a 10% increase in the price. There is a 10% increase in the price. But is it true? Is a question. Is it true? So let me again repeat. There is a first month, the prices have increased by 70%. Second month, prices have come down by 50%. So if we do the total, it is 20%. The average per month is only 10%. Now let us be careful. Let us have a look at the working out. Let us have a look at the workout. Here the solution will work out. Let the price in the beginning be 200. Let the price in the beginning be 200. 70% increase in the price means the price first month, the price have increased by, we have put year, ignore it, it is a month only. There is 70% increase in the price. Or it doesn't matter whether it is year also. So 70% increase in the price means the price has become 340. Because 70% increase means 200 for 170 rupees. For 200, it will become 140. So the total price will be 340 because 200 plus 170 is the increase in the price. The price will be 340. Now the second year, during the second year, the price decreases by 50%. During the second year, the price decreases by 50. So the price 50 of the 340 becomes 170 only. Half of it has become half of the what it was earlier. So 350's half is 170. The price has in the end of second year, the price has become 170. So now you see, in the beginning the price was 200. First year, end of the first year, it increased to 340. At the end of the second year, it came down to 170. Now, what is the net decrease in the price from 200? It has come down to 170. There is a decrease in price by 30 rupees. So, in that way, there is a 15% decrease in the price. So, if you take percentages, there is a 10% increase in the price. There is a 10% increase in the price, but it's not correct, it's incorrect. Actually, there is a 15% decrease in price. Prices have decreased by 30 rupees compared to first year, compared to the beginning of the period. So, during these 2 years put together, prices have come down by 30 rupees. That is, decrease in percentage term is a 15% decrease in the price. So, I hope this example may drive home the point that don't calculate averages when you are dealing with percentage. Many people do, some people do unknowingly, some people do it knowingly because they have interest. They want to blame the government, they will say, there is 10% increase in the price. If the government, somebody wants to support the government, they will do this way. Don't do that. Do it as a scientist. Unbiased, be unbiased. If it is increased, you say increase. If it is decreased, it is decreased. Why should we go depend whether it is X party or Y party? You have to be a scientist. Scientist has to be a scientist. You have to do a very scientific study, objective study. This is another example where we were discussing. I have already referred. And this is the main step many people are doing. Large number of works are NGRS are doing. And knowingly or unknowingly, they are committing mistake. Again, I have given the number of persons who households participated during the month of April, May, June, and the number of days worked. And if there is a question, what is the number? Average days of employment per household. Average days of employment per household, if you want. People just add all the number of persons, days worked, divided by number of households. And in this case, as explained earlier, it is 10,000 by 600. And then it's a 16.66, 16 days or about 17 days. So this is this is the average number of days of employment generated per household. Then one may ask, is it correct? One may question, is it correct? How far are we correct? How far are we correct? Is it not possible that the household which worked in April working in May, there is a possibility that household which worked in May also working in June? There may be possible some households worked in April but went to some other place, did not work in May, again rejoined in June. If you add all these households, you will get duplicate, triplicate, not the right number of households who have participated. To make the things more concrete, I am giving this example. So My request is concentrate on this example. In the month of April, 100 households participated in the program, and so participant number of households participated is 100. In the second month, that is month of May, out of 100 households who participated in April, 50 left, 50 continued in the work, but 50 left. But new 150 households joined. New 150 households joined. So total number of households who participated in month of May is the 50 old households which are worked in April, along with that 150 new households who have worked. Total number of households who participated is 200. Now in the month of June, the 200 households who participated continued to work. Along with them, the existing household, along with them, new households have come, 50 households have come, and out of old households, 50 have gone away. 50 have gone away. Now, in this calculation, we have to be very careful. How many are new households? Don't keep on counting the same households again and again. So once counted. Whether it goes and comes back, again don't count it as another household. So in the beginning there were 100 households. Okay. In the second month, how many new households came? 150 new households came. In the third month, how many new households have come? 15 households. Whether what happened to old households, whether they came back, whether they went out or came back, let us not count. So how many it will be? Existing old we started with 100 households. Second month, how many new households came? 50. In the third month, how many new households came? Another. In the second month, 150 new households came. So the old 100 households plus 150. In the third month, another new households came, another 50. So totally 300 households have participated. Some households have participated for all the 3 months. Some households have participated for only 1 month. Some households may have participated for 2 months. But net households participated are 300 only. So if you want to know average number of average number of days of employment provided for the participating household. It may have participated for 1 month, it may have participated in all the 3 months, it may have participated. In such a case, only 300 households have participated. So we have to divide by 300, not by 600. So it will become 33 days, about 33. So many people who have done work on MNREGA, they keep on doing such mistakes. Again, knowingly or unknowingly, they do mistakes. But they have to be very careful in doing. Just adding the number of days, employment days, by adding the number of days, you will not be able to get the average number of days of employment per household. What you have to be very careful is that you should not count the same households again and again. So this is very important, because economics students should know, become MNREGA. If a physics student doesn't know all these things, I can understand. But being our economics teacher and student of economics or researcher in economics, we have to keep all this point in mind. So, okay, do we have some more time now? Oh, I think we have exceeded the time limit because they're technical, but I'll brief. There is as I told, statistics is misused again and again. People may make statistics a laughing stock. there was a statistician who wanted to cross a stream with his all family members, and he found that the average depth of the stream is 3 feet, whereas the average height of his family members is 3.5. He said, okay, our average depth is less than the average height of the members in the family, so we can cross the stream, But naturally, as you know, stream, as we go inside, it will become deeper and deeper. But in family members, some are taller than 3.5, some are having shorter, and if they start crossing, some members children may get drowned. So people, it is don't apply statistics like that. Somebody even make fun, like keep one foot in a hot boiling water, keep another foot in the cold chill water. It will be average. Hot water will not cancel. One feet will get burnt, another will be cramped. So don't do that thing. Like that, some districts may have heavy floods, may be there in some districts. There may be no rain in some districts. But if you calculate the average, the rain per district, it will get normal figure. So avoid such a misuse of mean. This is only to make a laughing stock of a statistician. Nobody does this thing. This is only to this is exaggerated examples. Please, this thing ignore. I don't mean hurt anybody, but these are the things. So guidelines are avoid mean and use median whenever there is extreme values. Mode is more useful when you are for a garment industry and you want to know the profit of a new startup industry. You can use mode as a guideline. So thank you very much for your patient hearing.